So the political violence being justified right now in the UK by the media, by leftists, is just going to get worse. They're hoping it gets worse. They want it to escalate. This is why they are diminishing the act of milkshaking people, saying that it's not an act of violence, even though the guy who did it to Nigel Farage got charged and put in jail for assault, even though the law says that it's assault. Oh, it's not assault according to these journalists. It's actually funny. It's hilarious, right? And there was even this one woman Ruth Townsley, that works for this charity, that said that, oh, it's nice that they got Milkshake, but hopefully they get acid thrown on them next, right? So I guess she's getting used to her country in the UK where acid attacks are now, an everyday occurrence, right? So now it's kind of like in the lingo. It's like, hopefully this white lady, she's like, hopefully he gets fucking acid attacked. Ha ha ha. Well, you know what? It's probably going to be you that's going to get acid attacked. You're going to be in a car. Some guy's going to pull up on a moped with a cup and he's going to throw shit in your face. You're going to be like, diversity is our strength. Yay. Right? But you got these people in the UK justifying violence against Nigel Farage, Sargon of Akkad, etc., simply for using words, right? And it's disgusting. It's only going to escalate, especially with people like this Ruth Townsley girl. I think she had to step down from her position at this charity, Happy Times or something it's called. So that's good. But you got these people who feel like it's okay for them to say this stuff. They understand there's not going to be really much repercussions for advocating violence against people like that support Brexit or Nigel Farage, Sargon of Akkad, etc., UKIP members. The media, the TV, everything is telling them, the school is telling them, hey, it's okay to say whatever the fuck you want about white people. And this is why you see, or the right and conservatives, this is why you see these people say the most ghastly things on Twitter, because in our society, in our culture, there is no consequence whatsoever. If anything, you will be promoted and you will be made into like a hero. You're speaking against the patriarchy and white supremacy. We're going to give you a job at the New York Times or something like that, right? So, what they're really trying to do with instigating this and with diminishing these milkshakings is to make more real political violence something that is just inevitably going to occur. Because once you okay one form of assault, then other forms of assault become okay. Soon you're going to have people spitting in politicians' face. Hey, it's not a milkshake. Hey, it's not assault. I didn't beat you over the head with a stick. You're just going to be kind of humiliated, right? But that is still assault, okay? We're not going to loosen the laws so then leftists can throw, rotting fruit and vegetables at politicians they don't like. But I got this one article by this one guy, in the UK, and I'll go through a little bit of it because it's disgusting, hilarious, and once again, just justifying violence during the whole thing. So this guy, John Allege, I guess his name, and he says, no, throwing milkshakes at someone is not an act of political violence. And like I said, the guy who did this thing was charged with assault. But it's not political violence, even though he threw it for him because of political reasons. It's like, these guys, you have to have an extremely low IQ to read this stuff and to eat it all up. You have to be extremely stupid to take any of this stuff seriously. But he said, the idea that milkshaking is violence, but that inciting hate against minority groups isn't, should be resisted. So the leftist trope, words are violence. Actual violence isn't violence. Hitting and beating Nazis, well, that's okay. That's all right. But, words that hateful, mean words, talking about IQ differences, well, that's violence. That needs to be tamped down with the utmost amount of force at our disposal. But he goes on, it's like... he gives a few rules, but he's like all genuinely awful people, Richard Spencer probably quite liked the idea of inspiring a meme. The meme of him getting punched that's not a meme anyways, right? It's just like an act of violence set on loop, and a bunch of leftists keep rewatching it over and over again because they're violent people that like violence against their political enemies, right? Whereas Richard Spencer, he's just saying words. He's not promoting violence. I've never seen anything he said that was promoting any form of violence. Now, I disagree with some of his ideas and whatnot, but yeah, he hasn't said anything like that. But I very much doubt he wanted one he's famous for. In January 2017, the middle of an on-camera interview, the American white nationalist was punched in the face by a man wearing a mask. The footage escaped into the internet, a decent footage tends to do, and then floodgates opened. To this day, you can find videos online of Richard Spencer being punched with all these different, he mentions like, to different types of music. When you spend any significant period of time watching a man get punched in the face, and if you spend any time on the internet on which you are never more than 20 feet from a free speech bore, so, you're one of those free speech bores that, you want to uphold people's rights. That's like 100 years old, man. Get in the new age where we don't believe in rights and freedom of speech unless you have like brown skin or something, right? But 20 feet from a free speech board, then you start to wonder whether there might be any moral implications to all this. Okay, so Spencer is a white nationalist. And we all know what that means. But this is an act of violence, and by taking any pleasure in it, we are surely no better than those who'd use violence for political ends. And just because we don't like his views doesn't mean he should be stopped from expressing them. And so on, until the earth finally dies in a ball of flames. And the sooner the better. So he's saying, by letting people speak freely, it's eventually going to cause the world to go up in flames in a big ball of fire of violence and death and whatnot, The people, they're blatant liars. It's because of free speech that we have less violence today. It's because of being able to speak freely and to point to things that are inconsistent society that need changing. That is now why we have a better society. It's because of the ability to criticize the king and the queen and the people in the upper positions of power is why we are a good country with less violence, etc. And if you think about all that, yet you find you can still get a kick out of watching a man getting punched in the face to the soundtrack of Paper Planes by MIAA, you eventually start to prepare your counter argument. Mine goes something like this. It isn't simply that Spencer and his ilk, this is number one, right? So he's like, it isn't simply that Spencer and his ilk have views I don't like. The problem is, in expressing their views, white nationalists are deliberately inciting hatred and against racial and minority groups they don't like in a manner that endangers safety. So talking about white people not being a minority in your own country, talking about not being replaced by people that have no relation to your country whatsoever, all this stuff that is inciting violence. So he's in this article justifying violence against people using words. Punching someone is, all things considered, less bad than inciting ethnic cleansing. So, he's diminishing the act of punching in this whole article right now. But he's talking about milkshakes initially, but now he goes in this whole spiel about how punching people is okay, right? Essentially, or more or less justified. Because ethnic cleansing and promoting that is much worse. Whereas nobody's promoting ethnic cleansing. This is a lie. Stop fucking lying to people, you piece of shit. You don't get to incite violence against somebody and then whine when somebody wants to hit you. So, they justify their actions, these people. You said, make America great again. That essentially means I'm allowed to punch you in the face and beat you because that is a white nationalist symbol, and if I ever see you do the OK sign anywhere, I'm gonna kick you in the face. But the far right knows exactly what it's doing here, using instinctive liberal tolerance. I love this. At the left, you always got to understand about the left is they project everything that they do. They project onto their enemies. Now remember this, because this is one of the most basic truths about these people. They'll always accuse you of what they do themselves. But the far right knows exactly what it's doing, using instinctive liberal tolerance to carve out a space to express its intolerance. See, it's the opposite. It's conservatives that are more tolerant, that allow liberals to get into their spaces, and then liberals are the ones that start to shift and turn everything around, right? Try to work for an establishment that is on the left or liberal and being an open conservative. Good luck. Good luck. There's plenty of studies on this. Conservatives are more willing to hire liberals as opposed to liberals hiring conservatives. So they're the ones that keep us out and only hire liberals. They're the ones that just view people by their political ideology or skin color and will hire them based on that. Whereas most conservatives will give you a chance, regardless of your political ideology or race. The far right knows exactly what it's doing, using the liberal tolerance. It's so funny. You have no liberal tolerance. The liberals are the most intolerant people. Karl Popper's paradox of tolerance says that the only way to prevent intolerance from gaining the upper hand is to not tolerate. So free speech ultimately has to have limits if it's to survive. So how did he get into this whole free speech thing and limiting it while talking about throwing milkshakes on politicians? Right? Let's work our narrative in here to get rid of the last remaining bit of speech left in the UK. Right? It's disgusting, that country. The UK is a clown country. They are a clown country, and Canada and America and other countries are heading in the same direction. So use these people as a wake-up call. But number 5. No far-right politicians have so far been murdered by liberal assassin. The same is not true the other way around. Well, that's actually not true. What about the Steve Scalise in America, when that guy went there to go try to kill a bunch of Republicans? There was also a guy in, I think, the Netherlands or Australia. I can't really remember. But he had not a milkshake, but a cake thrown at him or something like that in 2002. And he was all about lowering immigration, all this stuff. But guess what? He was murdered that year, a year later, after people were justifying what was happening to him and all this stuff. So this is what the media is doing. They're deliberately trying to get us killed. They want us killed. They want us raped. They want everything stolen from us. And this is what they want from us. I can't remember that Sam Hyde quote, but it goes along something like that, and it's true. This is what you got to understand about these types of people. Not everybody on the left, but these types of people in the left, controlling everything. They hate you. They want you dead. They want you poor, destitute, and begging them for your survival. They want you to be dependent upon them. But the number 6, ultimately, what the far right wants is a world in which political violence is acceptable. How ironic is that statement, considering he's just justifying political violence in this whole article? That's poetic justice in showing it that the reality of that world is a white nationalist getting punched in the face while millions of people laugh at them on YouTube. So they're like, oh, the world that you want, that you're promoting, which is not true. Nobody's promoting this. Is you getting punched by people. So this is what you want. This is what you're going to get. No, this is not what we want. We're not saying that. Nobody's saying we want political violence. People, they're trying to talk about this now to avoid violence in the future. We're talking about this now, talking about immigration, reducing it to avoid problems down the road, which will end up in violence. But these people don't care. It's divide and conquer with these people. They want to bring in as many different cultures from different countries as they can, and then they want to tell white people they can't say anything about it, and they think nothing bad is going to fucking happen. It's fucking disgusting. If you're white or a native-born UK person in Western countries, if you talk about the rape gangs going on in the UK with all these little white girls getting raped, well, you're racist. You're going to be censored, and now this guy is going to justify violence against you because you're practically a Nazi, right? But And it'll start off, like I said, with milkshakes, but it's going to get worse. It's going to get progressively worse. And the media is directly responsible for this. The media is directly responsible for inciting this violence and other people as well. So on balance, I'm not going to lose any sleep over the fact Richard Spencer got smacked in the mouth. And then he's like, what I have no doubt whatsoever in saying, though, is that throwing a milkshake over a politician who incites hatred is completely and totally fine. That's because all the above arguments apply. But, and this is crucial, it's not a form of violence. It's not actually a form of violence. I have in my life been punched, kicked, and have drinks thrown over me. I find it extremely easy to work out. Dude, you don't make the laws. You don't make the laws. It is violence, you fucking idiot. Throwing shit, spitting on somebody. Like, how fucking brain dead are you? But this is for your followers, because they're all fucking brain dead retards. And this is crucial. It's not actually a form of violence. I have my life, all that crap, blah, blah, blah. More than that, politicians have been pelted with eggs and rotten fruits for generations. It's a form of political protest as old as politics itself. Not some horrifying new development that suggests we are at the top of a slippery slope that leads to fascism. You know what is horrifying new development that suggests we are on the top of a slippery slope that leads to fascism? All those fascists. So he's like, oh, it's a fascist. We need to bring back these old rules of how we used to do things back in the day. It's like, yeah, rape was or slavery was, we did that for generations and stuff. Does that mean we should do that now too? Oh, we threw things at politicians and rocks and, pieces of fruit that you could put, rocks in there at politicians for years. Not a big deal. It's like, oh my God. So would you be okay if we did it to you? It's, so if all these people now go up to journalists and leftists, and I wonder if they will mind if we start, throwing things on them. Is a bucket of paint okay? Maybe some coffee or whatever? Is that crossing the line too much? No, well, if we do it, it's going to be horrible. All these journalists are getting attacked. Oh my God, right? You can't even say fuck her right in the pussy next to a journalist without them losing their shit and causing a whole stink about it. But, I really hope nothing bad happens to any of these people. In the UK, Sargon, Nigel Farage, I don't agree with them on each and everything. And I know a lot of people on the right think that this is kind of like the further right, think this is kind of like a funny thing, a good thing, right? But no, it isn't, guys, because this is just going to be used against you, even worse, right? If you think that they're just going to milkshake, or they're saying all this stuff about basic conservative type people like Sargon of Akkad, who's like a classical liberal, whatever, and then Nigel Farage, etc. Like, if these people, if it's okay to throw things at them, attack them, then imagine what they're going to justify when it comes to you guys on the alt-right, the further right. So, I see some people kind of celebrating this a little bit. I'm like, no, don't do that, guys. It's not smart. I understand a lot of you guys don't like Tommy Robinson and these people because they're, cucks to Israel or something, but it doesn't mean we should not defend them and should not, raise alarms about this stuff, because it will be used against you sooner or later. And it's, like I said, it's the media is doing this on purpose. They want us killed, they want us dead, and they want us broke. That's it. They want us gone, out of the picture, moved away, and they're going to do this any way that they can, and using the media, using whatever means at their disposal. But hopefully Nigel, etc., gets some traction in the UK. Maybe they won't get too much this year, but maybe in the future before it's too late, because time is of the essence, especially for Western countries. We don't have a lot of time until things are not going to be able to be reversed. Once you put food coloring in water, you can't get it out. It's impossible. You will never get it out. And this is what we are doing right now. Once the shade of the water turns a different color, it's never going to go back. So wake up, people. Wake up to this political violence. to the media, who are not your friends, they are your enemies. This includes you people on the left. It's only a matter of time before what you believe is considered racist and bigoted. All you stupid idiots were the same people in communist countries that got killed first. You know, they went, killed all the other people, then they finished you off, the useful idiots. But that's all I pretty much had to say. If you like my content, subscribe and have a good day. Take it easy.